Grounding and bonding a propane tank is necessary for safety. Grounding protects against electrical shock by providing a low-resistance path for electricity to flow to the earth. Bonding connects metal components to prevent electrical differences that could create sparks or electrical shock. Here's how to ground and bond a propane tank. Firstly, install a ground rod. Drive a copper or galvanized steel rod at least 8 feet into the ground, positioning it at least 10 feet away from the tank. Secondly, connect the tank to the ground rod. Utilize a copper-clad steel ground wire, 8 American wire gauge or larger, to link the propane tank to the ground rod. Secure the wire using a ground clamp or bolt. Thirdly, bond metal components. Connect all metal plumbing, gas piping, and appliances that are within 6 feet of the tank using a bonding tape or wire, 14 American wire gauge or larger. This encompasses the fireplace or stove that will be using the propane. Fourthly, bond the gas line. Connect the metal gas line pipe to the bonding system using a bonding jumper, 6 American wire gauge or larger. Fifthly, verify conductivity. Ensure all connections are tight and that there is continuity between the propane tank, ground rod, and all bonded components. Employ a continuity tester or multimeter to check. It is important to consider these additional factors. Follow local electrical and plumbing codes. In areas with high lightning activity, a lightning protection system should be considered. If the tank is placed on a non-conductive surface, a grounding plate should be installed under the tank. The ground rod and bonding system should be inspected and maintained regularly to ensure proper operation. Grounding systems work by providing a safe path for electrical fault currents to flow to ground. This helps to prevent electrical shock hazards and equipment damage. When a fault occurs, the current will flow through the grounding system back to the source, tripping a circuit breaker or fuse and energizing the circuit. Bonding, on the other hand, ensures that all metal parts of an electrical system are at the same electrical potential. This is important because differences in potential can create a shock hazard. By bonding all metal parts together, any fault current will be distributed evenly, reducing the risk of electric shock. Grounding and bonding are typically achieved through the use of grounding conductors, bonding jumpers, and ground rods. Grounding conductors are wires that connect electrical equipment to the grounding system. Bonding jumpers are short lengths of wire that connect metal parts together. Ground rods are metal rods that are driven into the ground to provide a connection to earth. The size and type of grounding and bonding conductors are specified in the National Electrical Code, or NEC, and are based on the size of the electrical system and the type of equipment being grounded. For example, a larger electrical system will require larger grounding conductors. It is important to follow the NEC requirements to ensure that the grounding and bonding system is adequate to protect against electrical shock hazards. Regular inspection and testing of grounding and bonding systems are also important to ensure that they are functioning properly. Ground rods should be inspected for corrosion and damage, and grounding conductors and bonding jumpers should be checked for loose connections. Testing of the grounding system can be performed using a ground resistance tester to verify that the resistance to ground is within acceptable limits. Grounding and bonding are essential for the safe operation of electrical systems. By providing a safe path for fault currents to flow and ensuring that all metal parts are at the same electrical potential, grounding and bonding help to prevent electrical shock hazards and equipment damage. It is important to follow the NEC requirements and to regularly inspect and test grounding and bonding systems to ensure that they are functioning properly. Propane tanks, like any other electrical equipment, should be properly grounded to prevent electrical hazards. In the event of a lightning strike or other electrical surge, the grounding system will provide a path for the current to flow to ground, protecting the tank and surrounding equipment from damage. The grounding system should be installed in accordance with the NEC and local codes. The ground rod should be driven into the ground at least 8 feet, and the grounding conductor should be sized appropriately for the size of the tank. Bonding is also important to ensure that all metal parts of the propane tank system are at the same electrical potential. This will help to prevent electrical shock hazards if someone comes into contact with the tank or any of the associated piping or equipment. Bonding can be achieved by connecting all metal parts of the system together with a bonding jumper. The bonding jumper should be sized appropriately for the size of the system. In addition to grounding and bonding, it is also important to ensure that the propane tank is properly protected from physical damage. The tank should be located in a safe area where it is not likely to be struck by vehicles or other equipment. The tank should also be protected from corrosion by applying a protective coating. Regular inspection and maintenance of the propane tank system are essential to ensure that it is operating safely. The tank should be inspected for leaks, corrosion, and damage. The grounding and bonding system should also be inspected to ensure that it is still in good condition. Any problems that are found should be corrected immediately. The National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, also provides guidance on the safe installation and operation of propane tanks. NFPA 58 Liquefied Petroleum Gas Code provides detailed requirements for the design, construction, installation, and operation of propane systems. Compliance with NFPA 58 is essential to ensure the safe operation of propane tanks. When selecting a ground rod, it is important to choose a rod that is made of a durable and corrosion-resistant material. Copper and galvanized steel are two common materials used for ground rods. The size of the ground rod will depend on the size of the propane tank and the soil conditions at the installation site. In general, a larger ground rod will provide better protection against electrical hazards. The grounding conductor should be sized according to the NEC. The size of the grounding conductor will depend on the size of the propane tank and the ampacity of the electrical circuit that is supplying power to the tank. The grounding conductor should be made of copper or other conductive material. When installing the grounding conductor, it is important to make sure that it is securely connected to both the ground rod and the propane tank. The connection should be made using approved connectors that are designed for grounding applications. Bonding jumpers should be used to connect all metal parts of the propane tank system together. This includes the tank itself, as well as any piping, valves, and other equipment that is connected to the tank. The bonding jumpers should be sized appropriately for the size of the system and should be made of copper or other conductive material. When installing bonding jumpers, it is important to make sure that they are securely connected to all of the metal parts of the system. The connections should be made using approved connectors that are designed for bonding applications. Regular inspection and maintenance of the grounding and bonding system are essential to ensure that it is operating safely. The ground rod should be inspected for corrosion and damage. The grounding conductor and bonding jumpers should be checked for loose connections. Any problems that are found should be corrected immediately. In addition to the requirements of the NEC and NFPA 58, local codes may also have specific requirements for grounding and bonding propane tanks. It is important to check with the local authorities to ensure that the installation is in compliance with all applicable codes. By following these guidelines, you can help to ensure that your propane tank is properly grounded and bonded, protecting it from electrical hazards and ensuring the safety of your property. Remember that working with electricity can be dangerous. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it is best to hire a qualified electrician to install the grounding and bonding system for your propane tank. A qualified electrician will have the knowledge and experience to ensure that the system is installed correctly and safely. Grounding and bonding are not only necessary for propane tanks but also for other appliances and equipment that use electricity or gas. Proper grounding and bonding helps to prevent electrical shock, reduce the risk of fire, and protect sensitive electronic equipment from damage. It is important to understand the principles of grounding and bonding and to ensure that all electrical and gas systems are properly grounded and bonded. Here are some additional points to consider. Firstly, the ground rod should be installed in an area where the soil is moist and conductive. If the soil is dry or sandy, it may be necessary to use a longer ground rod or to install multiple ground rods to achieve a good connection to ground. Secondly, the grounding conductor should be run in a direct path from the ground rod to the propane tank. Avoid running the grounding conductor through any unnecessary bends or loops. Thirdly, the bonding jumpers should be installed in a way that minimizes the length of the jumper. The shorter the jumper, the more effective it will be at bonding the metal parts of the system together. Fourthly, the connections between the grounding conductor, bonding jumpers, and the metal parts of the system should be clean and tight. Use a wire brush to clean the metal surfaces before making the connections. Fifthly, after the grounding and bonding system has been installed, it should be tested to ensure that it is working properly. A ground resistance tester can be used to measure the resistance between the ground rod and the propane tank. The resistance should be low, typically less than 25 ohms. Sixthly, the grounding and bonding system should be inspected regularly, at least once a year, to ensure that it is still in good condition. Any problems that are found should be corrected immediately. Seventhly, if you are not sure how to properly ground and bond a propane tank, it is best to hire a qualified electrician to do the work. A qualified electrician will have the knowledge and experience to ensure that the system is installed correctly and safely. In addition to propane tanks, other appliances and equipment that should be grounded and bonded include electrical panels, water heaters, furnaces, air conditioners, and metal gas piping. Proper grounding and bonding is essential for the safe operation of these systems and for the protection of people and property. Grounding and bonding are critical safety measures that should not be overlooked. By following the guidelines outlined in this explanation, you can help to ensure that your propane tank and other electrical and gas systems are properly grounded and bonded, protecting you and your property from electrical hazards. If you have any questions about grounding and bonding, it is best to consult with a qualified electrician or electrical engineer. They can provide you with specific guidance based on your situation and help you to ensure that your electrical systems are safe and compliant with all applicable codes. Electrical codes and regulations are designed to protect people and property from electrical hazards. By following these codes, you can help to ensure that your electrical systems are safe and reliable. Grounding and bonding are important components of electrical safety and should be given careful consideration.